Oh boy. So, some of these car parts are going away today, and if you watched the last video, you know it's the seats. How's it going, guys? Welcome back to the channel. So today, of course, we're going to be installing the bucket seats in the Mustang, but I told you guys that I would tell you guys the story of what happened and why this has taken so long. I've literally had these seats sitting here for months now, and I'm finally just now getting around to installing them. So we're going to take a trip down memory lane real quick, and I'm going to explain what happened. So ever since I got the Mustang, I've known that I wanted to get new seats because the stock seats just, I feel like if I was a little bit shorter, they'd probably fit a little better, but I'm pretty tall and I didn't like the placement of the headrest, and even at like the highest setting, it's just still too low, and it was just kind of like bothering me. And because my back is so much taller than the stock seats, they don't fit very well with my shoulders, and there's like this bump that I think normally would be for your neck, but my shoulders are like in line with it. So the seats in general just kind of like pushing me forward all the time and making me slouch, and I wanted something a little better like these. So right at the end of May was when I finally pulled the trigger to get some nice new seats. And for those of you that are curious, these are the Corbeau RRS seats. So they're pretty like sporty and bolstering, but they're still adjustable too. So it's not like a full-on bucket seat. It's kind of the best of both worlds in my opinion. And I got the ones with the tall back too. So these are like the extra large ones or whatever. But I bought the seats at the end of May. It was like May 26th or 27th, the day that I put in my order. And I bought them, I don't remember what website I bought the seats on, but they're all over the place, and they always just go directly through Corbeau. So there's different carriers for Corbeau, but they always come from Corbeau, like from the source. So the seats got to me in like a week. They got here in like 5 or 6 days. Didn't take very long. And I ordered the brackets the same day. So the brackets was another issue that in hindsight, I should have just gone straight through Corbeau, but I just didn't know at the time. I didn't know what I was doing. So I went online and I just looked up like Ford Mustang seat brackets for Corbeau RRS seats, and I dug around, and all the other sources that I like to go through, like LMR and CJ Pony Parts, they were sold out of the brackets. But of course, none other than American Muscle had them in stock, right? Or so they said. So I just assumed that they ordered the parts from Corbeau or whoever makes the seat brackets, and then they stock them on the shelves because the other ones said they were out of stock. I went on their website, I bought the seat brackets, and then I just, that was it. I just closed the laptop and tried not to think about spending so much freaking money on car parts. So about another week went by. It had been about, I bought these the same night. So it had been about 1 week and the seats were already here, and then a week after that. So I'm like 2 weeks in and I hadn't seen the brackets yet. So I figured I would just call American Muscle, which by the way, if you guys have an inquiry with them, make sure you call them, because trying to email them, one time I tried to email them and it literally took them like 11 months to email me back. It was just ridiculous. And by the time they emailed back, I just figured out the problem. So what happened was I just called them up and I was like, yo, so I haven't seen the seat brackets. Have they shipped out yet? And then they told me like, oh, these are one of the ones that come directly from the manufacturer. And they said they're made to order. That's what they said. They said they make these brackets to order, and so they're not going to ship out for a while. And I was like, well, can you tell me when they'll ship out? And they said Corbeau is going to send them to us, meaning, at least the way I interpret it, that means that Corbeau is going to send the brackets to American Muscle, which, by the way, never happened. We'll get to that in a second. But they said that they're going to send them the seat brackets on July 26th. And I'm here like, it's the first week of June, and you're telling me I'm not going to see these for like 7 weeks? I didn't know what else to do at that point. So I was like, okay, well, I guess I'll see them in a couple months. So at that point, I just kind of put the seats on the back burner, didn't worry about anything. It's fine. So a couple months go by, July 26th comes around, and I get an email from American Muscle that says, we're sorry, this part is out of stock. And I'm like, what do you mean it's out of stock? You told me that you were about to get them shipped from Corbeau to you, which, keep in mind, never happened. That's not how that works. So I call him up again and I'm like, yo, I just got the email that says that these are out of stock. And then I talked with another guy, told me some weird made up story, I guess, about how like, oh, because of all the stimulus checks and COVID and everything, these brackets they're just gonna take a long time, and now I don't think you're gonna see them until September. And I was like, okay, the last guy I talked to said that you guys were gonna get the brackets to your warehouse on July 26th. And then at that point I was like, I need to either speak to like a manager or I need to speak to Corbeau, because I run a small business. I don't make that much money from YouTube, but it's like anytime I buy car parts, it's a business investment. It's money that I spend to grow this channel and make more videos. Like, that's just how things work in the YouTube world. So he said, well, I can give you the SKU number and then I can direct you to Corbeau themselves. So I got off the phone with him, and then I just went online and I looked up Corbeau USA and I just called Corbeau. They picked up instantly. So I told them, I was like, hey, I ordered some seat brackets. American Muscle said it's going through you, but it's gonna take a while. And so then they were like, what's your name? They looked at my name and they were like, oh, so you ordered the brackets for the Mustang? And I was like, yeah. And they were like, we just got the invoice from American Muscle today. And I was like, what do you mean? Like, I put in that order at American Muscle months ago. And so he said, let me read through this a little bit. He scrolls down to the end of the invoice and he's like, yeah, it says here your order was put in at the end of May. So I don't know why they waited until now to send us this order. And I was like, yeah, me either. That's weird. So at this point, I'm still under the impression that they're gonna send the brackets to American Muscle and go through them. And I'm like, no, please. Like, is there any way you can send them directly to me? And then this guy tells me, we don't send it to American Muscle. They send us the orders and then we just ship them straight out. I was like, well, is that gonna take a while? Because I'm still under the impression also that these brackets are made to order. And he's like, no, this is just like a common seat bracket that we make to fit a lot of different cars. He was like, it fits the Mustang, but it also fits some other cars too. We always carry these in stock. And I was like, so you guys have had these in stock this whole time? And American Muscle has been telling me that I have to wait for them to be made to order and get shipped to American Muscle, and it doesn't even go through their warehouse at all? What the heck even is this? Why is this taking so long? And so then the guy was like, I'm really sorry about that. I didn't know that this was like an issue. And then I told him the 3-valve community especially, but just Mustang guys in general, we've agreed on Instagram. I've been posting memes all about how American Muscle just drops the ball all the time. And I hate talking crap about this sort of thing, but it's becoming an issue. Like, why, when I talked to two different people, they both told me some story that wasn't even true. Why does it even matter? Why can't they just send the invoice over to Corbeau? Especially because it just comes direct from the manufacturer. It doesn't even have to go through American Muscle. I'm ranting, but you guys get the idea. It was just shady. So then the guy from Corbeau, he says, you know what size shirt do you wear? And I'm like, I wear a large. And he was like, here, just so you don't have a bad taste in your mouth about Corbeau, I'm gonna send you a t-shirt with your order because I'm really sorry about any sort of confusion. And then he said he was gonna get in touch with American Muscle. So maybe American Muscle is trying to like send a bunch of orders all at once so that way they get some sort of discount, but that still doesn't make sense because they come directly from the manufacturer. They don't have to buy them from Corbeau and then mark them up slightly to sell them on their website. Not really sure what's going on with American Muscle, but all that to say, the seats are here finally, and that's why things took so long. It should never have taken that long. American Muscle should have just, as soon as I put in my order, they should have just sent the invoice over to Corbeau, because the whole time Corbeau just stocked the seat brackets like just on the shelf. They got here like 2 days after I talked to the guy on the phone. So big shout out to Corbeau. You guys are awesome. I'll go ahead and put the shirt on real quick so I can show it to you guys, because they made things so much easier to understand. And so if you guys are wanting to buy seat brackets or seats in general, highly recommend just go straight through Corbeau. If you have any questions, you can just call them. They're so much better about managing things. This isn't even sponsored. Like, I'm not being paid to say this at all. I genuinely just thought that Corbeau did a super awesome job of handling the situation, and they explained things a lot better to me. And they were also like, yeah, I don't know what's going on American Muscle side of things, but we got these brackets here, so we'll ship them out as soon as possible. So big thank you to them once again. And now let's get into the install. So as I said, here's the Corbeau shirt. Very nice, fits snugly, pretty comfy. It has a cool little logo, so that's cool. But yeah, just cool Easter egg. Thanks to Corbeau once again. I know I keep saying that, but whatever. Anyway, we're gonna start by putting the brackets on the seats, and it's really hot outside, so I'm actually gonna do that inside because I set foot outside a few minutes ago and I was just immediately drenched in sweat. So we're starting inside. Maybe we'll use that. I just realized that I'm doing this the stupid way. I need to flip the seat over. Why am I laying on the ground, dude? Literally so dumb. Okay, now what the heck? I guess these brackets are kind of like a one-size-fits-all because I put it in the center hole and then the rear hole didn't line up. I wonder if the instructions said to start with the back. No, it definitely said to start with the front because you had to slide the seats forward. So I don't know what the heck that's all about, but I guess with this seat you need to start on the back because now these holes are not lining up. What the heck? Passenger seat, all good. Time for the driver's seat. Dude, it is 97 degrees outside and you're wearing long pants.
I always wear pants.
You have issues.
I don't understand why you're thinking of. You had me at alone. I don't understand why you're thinking of.
How is there another garbage truck? Dude, are you kidding me right now? That's like the 4th time a garbage truck has gone by while I'm trying to make this video. As long as she's on there, give her the smack check. That ain't going nowhere. So I'm gonna start with the passenger side because I'm gonna have to move it out of the driveway to get to the driver's side. So I figured I'd just start with this side. Actually, you know what? Scratch that. I'm gonna just move the car out first because I'm gonna have to do the driver's side like 2 minutes later anyway. So I'm gonna move the car out and then we'll start pulling the seats out. Man, this car is looking fantastic right now. All right, so on the passenger side, there's two 13mm bolts. They're right here, left and right. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna start by removing these two bolts up here, and then we'll move on to the back. Also, these seats have this little cover on the back, and I watched a video, and I believe you just like slide it back. Ooh, guitar pick. Now, before we pull this out all the way, we're gonna need to disconnect the battery to undo the wiring and stuff, so we're gonna do the driver's side next. Make sure you hold the seat up with your face, so that way you can get access to this clip. Of course, the camera didn't focus on any of that, but I got those two plugs undone. This one kind of sucks because you just have to like reach in here with like a flathead or something and just like pop it out, but got them both undone, so now we're gonna pull the seat out, hopefully. All right, so I did some digging online and I think I found a way to make this wiring harness work on the new seats, but I'm gonna save that for another video just because it's kind of in depth, and I figured I would just make like an in-depth tutorial on how to do that in case you guys wanted to make all this work and not have a check engine light and all that stuff. But in the meantime, we're just gonna go ahead and take the seatbelt bracket off of here, so that way when I get the new seat out here, we'll be able to just throw it right in. Oh, my phone just fell out of my pocket. It's also just so freaking hot out here. I was just having a hard time even thinking or like figuring out what the heck I needed to do next. Ugh, can't wait for the cold weather to come back. Okay, so I put down the camera for just a little bit. I drank some water because I was just, all of a sudden, it just got super hot and I wasn't able to think straight. It's crazy that the difference between 96 degrees and 100 degrees just, like when I started this, it was 96 and I was like, that was hot. But then it got to 100 and I just like couldn't think straight. I've moved the operation over to the garage. I'm gonna take the seatbelt brackets off of these and move the seatbelts over to the new seats. And then we'll get the new seats in the car, finally. What the heck? Why was that so hard to get out? And that one was so much easier. What the heck? Just like that, boys, the seats are in. God, this bird, dude. Leave me alone, jeez. Alright guys, so I'm out here at one of my favorite spots for photos and just kind of spirited driving, if you will. And I've just been enjoying the seats for the last couple days, and I was gonna do like a driving review, but honestly, I've just put some thought into this, and like the seats are great, don't get me wrong, but I feel like with a bucket seat, your best bet if you're looking to buy seats is probably just go to like a car meet or go to a place that's gonna have a lot of aftermarket seat options and just try a few out. It's not super ideal if you live in kind of a remote location, but I think that that's probably the best way. I mean, the reason I went with Corbeau is because I know a lot of Mustang owners vouch for the Corbeau seats, and I had sat in a few before and they just fit me well. But I also had Jason sit in the passenger seat and he said that the back was good, but he felt like he was sliding around in the bottom, whereas I feel like it bolsters me perfectly. So I think your best bet is probably gonna be to just try out a bunch of different ones. And then of course there's the bias aspect. I mean, I spent like $1,000 on those seats, so of course I'm gonna recommend them to people. And even at that, like maybe they aren't the best bucket seat ever, but my brain is still gonna subconsciously justify it to me because I spent so much money on it. So just keep that in mind. A lot of times, like if people buy a really expensive seat, they will, like, they can make a valid point, like, yeah, it could be a super comfortable seat, but there's always gonna be a little bit of that bias, especially if they drop like an entire paycheck on it or it was really expensive. So just keep that in mind. I would recommend just try out a few different seats, see what fits you best, and then go with that option, because I'm 6'2", but if you're like 5'6", for example, you're probably not gonna need like the 37.5-inch tall back for the seat and whatnot. With all that being said, I definitely think the seats are super comfortable. As I said, I've just been kind of spending the last couple days enjoying them and just getting used to them. They're a lot more bolstering and you sit a lot lower. So if you are someone that's really tall like me and you have like head clearance issues, I don't really have that issue anymore at all. As you can see, my hair is no longer rubbing against the ceiling, which was honestly like a game changer. I noticed that when I was in the stock seats, if I was sitting in an optimal position, it was always so frustrating when I would pull up to a stoplight. I wouldn't be able to see the light. I'd have to like lean forward and look up like this. But now that's almost not an issue unless I'm like really close, which is super awesome. Just kind of a drivability thing, something you don't really notice until you've been with a car or been with a stock set of seats for a while. Just those little small things really make a big difference after a long time. The one complaint that I do have about these seats, and it was something that I couldn't really avoid, is I wish that the shoulder pieces right here were just a little bit wider. I think optimally my shoulders would be slightly lower, like kind of down here, and then they would kind of wrap around the top of my shoulder. All in all, they're still very comfortable, but I just wish that they were just a little bit wider, like maybe half an inch on each side. But then of course, with making a seat that is like somewhat universal, that can just be mounted into a lot of different cars, of course that could be an issue. In the Mustang, it fits pretty good, but this is pretty close to the door. So I think Corbeau does a really good job of finding a good happy medium between like making a large seat that will fit a good amount of people and also making seats that will fit into like as many different cars as you could want. And just being a big tall dude is just something that we kind of just adapt to. If you're big and tall like me, you'll probably relate to that. I mentioned it briefly earlier in this video, but because I have disconnected the harness, you guys can see that I have an airbag light. I'm gonna make a video about that soon, talking about how you can turn that off. So if you guys are wanting to get a set of Corbeau seats or any aftermarket seats for this car, just stay tuned for that, because I mean, I want my light to turn off. So that's an upcoming video, probably sometime this month. Not like a huge deal, but something I'm gonna address pretty soon. But other than that, I don't really have that much else to say about these seats. I mean, they kind of just speak for themselves. Super comfortable. The ones I got are also a little bit pricey because I wanted the leather. If you go with cloth, they're a little bit more affordable, but again, I honestly think you get what you pay for. Of course, that is slightly biased because I did pull the trigger and buy them, but I think that they're worth it, especially if you're uncomfortable in the stock seat. If you're not uncomfortable or if you fit well in the stock seat, then maybe don't prioritize it. But for me, this was like a big thing. It was just becoming an issue where I was like uncomfortable anytime I had to drive this car. So in my opinion, sitting a lot better for me. But if you're looking for a bucket seat, make sure you go and try some out, because like this isn't just for everybody. I'm not gonna say like, oh yeah, Corbeau seats are for every person. Just like, that's just not the way it is. Maybe you fit better in like a bride seat, or who knows? There's tons of different options. Also, you guys may have noticed it's been about a week since a video went up on the channel now. That was not intentional. My laptop wasn't charging and it took me like 2 days to figure it out. I don't know why the heck my laptop was acting so weird, but I was unable to edit the video for a couple days. So this video was supposed to come out a couple days ago. I do apologize about that. And I'm actually re-recording this outro because after I edited the first part of it, I realized that I could probably make the outro edit a little bit better. So I figured I would just take my time, make a better video for you guys, and kind of give my best insight into whether or not you should buy the seats, because my original take was like pretty good, and then after I edited part of it, I was like, I think I'm a little bit biased because I spent a lot of money on the seats. So I hope you guys understand, and I hope that that kind of gives you some insight into whether or not you should actually buy bucket seats, because I really put a lot more thought into it this second time around. I was really trying to like think about it like as if I wasn't having seating issues. If I fit in the car, would I need the bucket seat? Obviously, if it's like a track car, then like you would know more than me. If you're building a track car, you're probably not taking that much advice from this video. Like, yes, you're gonna need a bucket seat. But if it's just a street car and you fit in your stock seats well, I wouldn't prioritize the bucket seat. I mean, they do look really cool. So if you're building a show car and you got the budget for it, go for it. But I don't think that it is really like a necessity per se. I think a lot of people might disagree with me. They might say like, nope, stock seats are terrible. You should always get a bucket seat. I mean, if it's a modern car, especially, like if you've got anything newer than like 2005, really, it's just kind of, I think it's sort of up to you. Obviously, some seats are better than others. I don't think that the Mustang seats are horrible, but then again, it's just my opinion. So, as I've said like 3 or 4 times now, just do some research, try out a different seat, try out a few different seats. If you like the way a certain one feels, then by all means just see if you can get some brackets for your car. But it's hard to talk about bucket seats in one video because it's like there's the bias review and just everybody's different, everybody's shaped differently. You guys know I like to reward you guys for making it this far. I don't always have bloopers that I can show, but there's another box over there. So I hope you guys are looking forward to that. If you liked the video, make sure you leave a like down below. Consider subscribing for more car content, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Peace out and dream big.